Hello, my stationery friends. It is time for some fall ink swatching. So I have our young guest here. That's Gussie. He's the pumpkin. I've used my trusty Diamond Mini by Twisby. And it's some of you might know that this is my preferred sketching fountain pen. I usually have it all filled up with the Detrimentus Document Black. So that's what I use to make these nifty little sketches of imaginary fountain pen over here. All right, guys ready? I'm gonna have this really fun watercolor brush that I picked up in Italy, in Florence, last time I was there. It's by a company that I've only seen being sold in Italy. So it's Barsani Bonazzi, and it's a pretty fun one. All right, let's make sure this brush is triple clean. And let's see what is our very first ink. All right, so the first one up is Montblanc, surprise, surprise. So this is the Meisterstück Olympic Heritage Red. Some of you might be familiar because this is literally the very first ink I've ever reviewed. I think this one and its counterpart, the blue Heritage Blue Olympic ink. All right, so this is to kind of sort of test consistency at first. And what I usually do, I kind of sort of also like to see how opaque an ink or a watercolor for that matter is. So that's why I like using black ink that is water resistant for my swatches. I will also want to drop a little bit over here, swatch it around, and just see how it dries. So we can see some fun stuff, hopefully. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make something similar over here. There we go. And just going to have a little bit of fun little droplets here and there just to see how, it's going to turn out to be with some water introduced to it. Whee! That's so much fun. Anyhow, let's write down the name using my trusty 1930s dip pen. And so this is Montblanc. All right. I'm introducing just a tiny little bit of water for the rest of it, so it's thinned out. And we can see the transitioning of the ink from its darkest point to slightly lighter one. So this specific paper was handmade by this person. I'm gonna leave it in description. So there is someone who actually makes these their house, and this paper is marketed as being towards calligraphy, so calligraphy friendly. And I use it surprisingly pretty happily for watercolor painting. So let's see how it dries, and we'll come back to this. Let's do the second swatch. So since we're doing the Origin collection, which Olympic Red was extension of, we are going to do the Montblanc Meisterstück, their Origin collection coral. So let's see how that's gonna show up. All right. I'm very excited to see this guy and compare it. Also remember that the results you get whenever you swatch anything will also depend greatly on the paper you use. I am using this paper just because we will have several swatches, and I also want to do some maybe a little bit more surprising swatches and solutions. So decided to go with this one. This is not your traditional paper, but I just prefer using something that is thicker and it's going to handle a lot more water and just be a lot more different to play with than your regular writing paper. All right. That is a nice undertone we're getting here. This is a very warm undertone, and I can already tell that this will dry very differently from the other one, and it's exciting. So in this instance, I'm doing 2 different patches just because I want to introduce some water and do some little fun splashing. So let's do some fun stuff. Over here, just for the fun of it. Let's see what happens. Sometimes we can see more of the undertone. We'll see if this happens here. And one more thing that we're supposed to do is let's put down what color it is so we remember what ink we used. And for the rest of it, I'm just gonna have the same ink but a little thinned out. so we can just get a nice differentiation of that same color. All right, so what do we have up next? Let's do one of my favorites, Mulled Wine by Diamine. It was introduced, I believe, was it last year? I think it's the Advent calendar, either last year or year before this. And I kind of sort of fell in love with that. Let's swatch so you can see a little bit more of it. Yeah, you can see it's a very dark one. And then there's a very rich undertone here as it thins out. I think you can definitely see that wine that they went with there. All right, and now my favorite part, where we play a little bit more. All right, let's see how this is gonna turn out here. All right. So here we have Diamines. Thinning this one out again, so we can just see how it transitions from the darkest to the lightest. Yeah, can't wait to see this all dried. And on to the next we go. All right, so this is Diamond Oxblood, and a lot of people love this one. And I only have a sample of it, but I'll tell you, I think I'll be buying the whole bottle at some point. All right. It's gonna be an interesting challenge to swatch this one. But hey, we're gonna try. Okay. So nice. So I can tell it's pretty similar, I guess, in the way it's not thinned out to mulled wine. Or is it? Guess we'll see. Yeah. Definitely can see some similarities, but it's plenty different at the same time. And I think we'll see more once it dries completely. There we go. Exciting. So now in the water, whenever I wash my brush, I can see some potential dye bits that might have been used in the both, and I think they definitely have some similar bases here. There we go. Guess we'll see what happens. All right. Gonna thin this one out a little more. That's always a lot of fun. One more thing we need to do is to write down the name so we don't forget. That it's Diamine, the Oxblood. I have to fix this one. Ta-da! All right, guys. It is only 3 left. So let's see what else we have. I'm gonna go a little lighter again. So this is gonna be another of those Montblancs I love so much. So this guy is the Rebel Red. That is supposed to represent James Dean. Let's see. This Rebellious Red. Okay, so. Woo! Very nice. Very saturated. Gonna do the regular saturated point on our little sketch here. And the second swatch is meant to be played with. All right. Yeah, definitely see some orangey undertones over here. Let's see what happens once we drop some water in there. Oops, I missed a little bit, but that's easy to fix. There we go. All right. So let's write down the name, which is Montblanc. Steen Rebel Red. It's one of my favorites. I've used it a lot. At this point, I think these are pretty big jars of ink, but can definitely see this is one of those most used reds of mine. All right, so one more thing to do. Let's thin out to see a little bit more gradient in our Rebel Red. Now, I promise you this is the last Montblanc ink in this series. But this guy is Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And this one is supposed to be the desert brown. which it's not a brown because, well, you'll see, I guess. I do count it as red. So let's see how that looks. Definitely not a brown. And I dare you to prove me wrong in the comments. I'm going a little bit out of order here, but I wanted you guys to see the big one first. Yeah, I'd say red and pink is what I see here. Slight wine feeling to it too. Focal point out here. Let's see how it's going to thin out after. I do like this one a lot. Let's thin this one out again. Yeah, look at all of that wine. I definitely see no brown here. And just to prove my point, I will move the water closer because it's very pinkish red. All right, guys, the last one. It's Noodler's Black Swan and Australian Roses. So I know for some, Noodlers might not be the best ink. And I don't have a lot of their inks. I have only a couple. I would definitely not suggest using any Noodlers in your vintage pens. And in fact, a couple of restorers, vintage fountain pen restorers, actually put that in their warranty. So sometimes if you buy a pen, restored pen, you might not be able to use Noodlers unless you want the warranty to be revoked. Anyhow, that said, I do enjoy this ink in a modern pen, and this one is actually waterproof. So I actually put it in one of my pens, and it has been in one pen and one pen only all this time, and I've enjoyed it immensely. Just for writing, you know, dresses and envelopes and not really worrying what might happen to stuff in mail. So there's definitely a use case for this ink, but I would definitely caution and be mindful of using it in anything that is extremely dear to you. So just be careful. So here we are. I'm gonna thin this out real quickly so, you know, we don't have a situation since this ink is supposed to be waterproof, where I'm gonna reach a point where I can't thin it out anymore. So, all right, did my best here. Let's play with the water a little again. Man, where are we? There we go. Got some fun stuff here. And let's write it down. Noodlers. Black Swan. And Australian roses. All right, I'm gonna come back and look at everything and see how it dried and what we can see. All right, everything has dried, so we can take a look. Maybe go a little closer and see all the fun colors or shades of reds we have achieved here. All right. All right, so this is the Olympic red. Coral. Mulled wine. Diamine Oxblood. Rebel red. Desert brown. And black swan and Australian roses. A lot of fun. I think sometimes we swatch, well, at least I swatch, just for the kick of it. I mean, part of it is that play with color. I feel like that's what you can get, and that's what kind of sort of makes or breaks any ink or any color, watercolor ink or anything else that you might enjoy playing with. Anyhow, these are some of my fun reds that I love, and that would be fun to put them all together and see if they can bring that full type of mood.